Another day of state regime media known as Fox, just in total panic mode, trying to justify Donald Trump's dangerous, destructive, and dastardly behavior. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent was on the Laura Ingraham show last night, and he addresses what Donald Trump said about why little girls should only have 2 dolls and 5 pencils, and they should pay more for it, and you should stop complaining if you want more dolls, little girls. Here's what Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent says. Let's play this clip.
The other thing, too, is this reporter behind me was quite snarky the other day when President Trump talked about the girl having 2 dolls. And he said, well, what? President didn't take the question, but he said, what would you tell that girl? And I said, I would tell that young girl that you will have a better life than your parents, that you and your family, thanks to President Trump, can now be confident again that you will have a better life than your parents, which working class Americans had abandoned that idea. Your family will own a home. You will be able to advance. You will have a good education. You will have economic freedom. That's what we are advancing.
Yeah. So you go from Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent talking about how little girls should stop whining about only getting 2 dolls, government's doing central planning, to Jesse Waters, one of the hosts on state regime media known as Fox, talking about an issue that's very pressing to him, that men should never cross their legs, he says. Play this clip.
Men should never cross their legs. What's worse, crossing your legs or leaning in? Text me.
I mean, again, it's just a total clown show on Fox. No offense to clowns. These are fascist clowns. Going back to Laura Ingraham right here with Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent on. Asked about empty ships coming from China, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent says, that's not a big deal. All American companies prepared for this. They knew we were going to do this. Here, play this clip.
Christmas time is coming. There's going to be no toys for children. Trump is Grinch, and you all are going to get blamed for this. Was the political pressure and the consumer pressure building to an extent that critics are saying forced your hand?
Again, Laura, that I think a lot of American businesses have pre-positioned a lot of inventory. The trade deficit actually jumped because so many people bought in advance. And the companies that I've talked to have done that. So we are going to stick to our guns. But again, the U.S. and China have shared interest. They are the deficit country, though. They sell us about 4 times more than we sell them. So it would be felt harder in China.
What about small and medium-sized businesses that aren't at your secret gatherings where you manipulate the markets? What about the people who employ 80% of Americans who are now just getting absolutely screwed? How about Main Street there, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent? Oh, that's right. You don't give up about us. Jesse Waters talking about a major rule that he says was broken the other day. Here, play this clip.
What do you notice? Doug's breaking the rules. He's leaning in, like Barack leans into Michelle. Men should never lean. Green lines don't lie. And if you don't know, look it up.
I don't even know what he's talking about. What are they even talking about on this godforsaken network? Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent says it's all going to plan. Donald Trump is doing strategic uncertainty. That's what this is. Strategic uncertainty. What's he going to do? Is he going to wake up and post AI images of himself as the Pope? Or maybe he'll talk about Alcatraz. Who knows? Maybe he'll tariff movies produced overseas. 145% tariffs, maybe 500% tariffs, maybe a bajillion% tariffs. Strategic uncertainty. That's what intelligent people do. Here, play this clip.
That's okay. He's fine with no deal. So that, I like that personally. I think it's great and brilliant. But Wall Street, your old friends, hate it. They hate that kind of uncertainty. What do you say to them tonight, given President Trump's comments about, well, we don't have a deal. We don't have a deal. We'll survive.
Well, Laura, it's called, in game theory, it's called strategic uncertainty, what you're talking about. Nobody does it better than President Trump, and it can be unsettling for the markets. But why are they unsettled? Because they have a lack of information. President Trump has asymmetric information for what he's willing to do. We don't disclose it. And again, with President Trump, that the strategic uncertainty will make sure that we get the best deal possible. That's what's happening.
What are they talking about? By the way, isn't it just very clear to you that Donald Trump doesn't have the most basic understanding of even like what a tariff is, what a trade deficit is? Donald Trump thinks if there's a trade deficit, that means that we're subsidizing another country. Donald Trump thinks it means that if there's a trade deficit, that means that other countries are stealing our money. By the way, the trade deficit under Trump's tariff war against the world has gone up significantly. The trade deficit is up massively under Donald Trump. Why? Because there are so many countries that are trying to import stuff because of how unpredictable Donald Trump is. Get the stuff here. And so it's actually adding to the deficit. But I guess they think that's a win. So then you have Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy, who got famous on the Real World reality TV show on MTV. But then he was on the Real World Road Rules Challenge as well. That's how he rode that to fame in the MAGA Republican Party. And here he talks about he's really upset right now at the Trump Department of Defense because they keep flying helicopters with VIPs over Washington, D.C., and they're making the airspace very dangerous. And Pete Hegseth is refusing to respond to Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy. And he's like, I'm very frightened. I'm concerned. You're frightened and concerned. You're the freaking transportation secretary. Here, play this clip.
And there was this issue about an Army helicopter in the D.C. flight area and who was flying on it and why it flew in a pattern that forced two commercial airlines to have to reroute and land in another place. Were you able to find out who was on that flight and why, given what happened with the 67 people whose lives were lost in a similar situation, why would that even be happening?
So there are way too many VIPs, is what they call them, at the Pentagon. I mean, I look around the White House. There's a lot of really important people here. They take a Suburban. Why is the Pentagon that much more sophisticated where they have to take helicopters in a really busy airspace? So I'm hoping that we're going to get the answers, but I'm going to congratulate.
You still don't know who was on that flight because our Pentagon folks say that it was a training mission, not a VIP. What do you say?
So, but here's the thing. Training missions, oftentimes, if you ever go to a football game and you have a flyover with F-16s,
sure. Guess
what that's called? A training mission. Okay. So are we moving VIPs and calling it training missions? And how many training missions are you doing in the middle of the day? If you're going to train at a time where we don't have a busy airspace at DC. I thought that lesson was learned, back on the 29th of January.
And you don't have any answer from the Pentagon from last night to today
I don't.
on that?
But everybody, it's good to know that Sean Duffy has a hashtag Latina wife. He wants you all to know that he does. Okay, hashtag Latina wife, heart, women dancing. And he goes, nice to come home on a Friday night to home cooked steak tacos after a long week working at the DOT, ! Hashtag Latino wife. What is wrong with these people?
Did you know Fast Growing Trees is the biggest online nursery in the US with thousands of different plants and over 2 million happy customers? They have all the plants your yard needs, like fruit trees, privacy trees, flowering trees, shrubs, and so much more. Whatever plants you're interested in, Fast Growing Trees has you covered. Find the perfect fit for your climate and space. Fast Growing Trees makes it easy to get your dream yard. Order online and get your plants delivered directly to your door in just a few days without ever leaving home. Their Live and Thrive guarantee ensures your plants arrive happy and healthy. Plus, get support from trained plant experts on call to help you plan your landscape, choose the right plants, and learn how to care for them. I got a lemon tree from Fast Growing Trees, and it's my favorite thing in my yard. I was worried about ordering plants online, but it arrived fresh, strong, and ready to plant. Plus, now I get to just walk outside and pick my own citrus, not to mention it smells amazing every time I go out. And by the way, big yard, small yard, no yard at all, doesn't matter. Fast Growing Trees has over 6,000 plants that fit any space, from indoor plants to fruit trees trees to full-size privacy trees, and more. Fast Growing Trees has plant experts on call, so if you're like me and don't have a green thumb, they'll help you choose the right plant and keep it thriving. This spring, they have the best deals for your yard, up to half off on select plants and other deals. And listeners to our show get 15% off their first purchase when using the code Meidas at checkout. That's an additional 15% off at fastgrowingtrees.com using the code Meidas, M-E-I-D-A-S, at checkout. Fastgrowingtrees.com, code Meidas. Now is the perfect time to plant. Use Meidas to save today. Offer is valid for a limited time. Terms and conditions may apply.
Oh, before showing you the next clip of what went down at Fox, I wanted to show you this one before, but I'll show it to you now. Earlier in the day yesterday, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent testified under oath before Congress. He was asked the most basic question: who pays for tariffs? Who pays for tariffs? The answer is people. We pay for it. The importer pays the tariff, right? They pay the levy, and it gets passed on to the consumer in the form of basically a tax. That's how it works. It's not China who pays it. They don't eat it. It's not them eating it. Watch Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent's response play.
Who pays tariffs, Mr. Secretary? No. Answer the questions I asked, please. I only have 5 minutes. Who pays tariffs?
Sorry. Well,
who pays tariffs?
Sorry,
Mr. Secretary, please.
Excuse me.
The question is very simply, who pays tariffs, Mr. Chairman? I'd like him to answer that question.
Well,
He wants to answer other questions.
well, Congressman, if the exporters, dislike tariffs so much, why wouldn't they? If I think what you're trying to get me to say.
Did you remember the question? I'm not sure you did. Who pays tariffs?
It's a very complicated question.
Reclaiming my time. People pay tariffs, right? Reclaiming my time, Mr. Secretary. Reclaiming my time, Mr. Secretary. Reclaiming my time. You clearly aren't going to answer it. I'm not going to waste my time having you go, Mr. Secretary, reclaiming.
The guy couldn't even put a sentence together in one of the most basic of questions right there. Then you have the border czar, Tom Homan, who's a creepy man. He's obsessed with AOC and like arresting AOC. And this weirdo border czar guy, Tom Homan, he goes on Fox and he's like, I'm gonna arrest her. We're gonna arrest her. We're gonna blah, 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 blah. Oh my God, you're giving Barney Rubble a bad name. Play this clip.
One of these seminars, Tom Homan, then acting director of ICE, said that he was going to threaten to refer me to DOJ because I'm using my free speech rights in order to advise people of their constitutionally guaranteed protections. And he may want to do it again today. And to that I say, come for me.
Tom, come for me, she said.
I take pleasure. I can live in her mind rent-free every day. But we all know exactly what she's doing. Like I just said, she's educating the worst of the worst. How to invade law enforcement. But the tables have now turned. She's educating people how to get prosecuted. Because you have a final order. It is illegal to not comply with that order. It's a crime to take steps to not comply with ICE removal orders or not comply with ICE actions taken in custody. You can't hinder your own removal that was ordered by the federal judge. I would like AOC to read Title 8, United States Code 1253, because it's starting tomorrow.
All right, I'm only going to play you 2 small clips of this next guy, Stephen Miller, because he just goes on Fox and he's like, everybody wants to do business with me in America. Play this clip.
Hundreds Under President Trump, everyone wants to do business in America, Sean. Everyone wants to do business here. Low regs, low taxes, cheap energy, and a winning president. Everyone wants to do business now in America, Sean.
Yeah, I don't really think so anymore. You've like literally destroyed the brand of America. Don't take my word for it. I mean, you have the top hedge fund, top private equity people say the brand of America has now been destroyed internationally. Here's Stephen Miller again saying that what Donald Trump did in the Oval with Prime Minister Mark Carney was brilliant. He was a chess master. Trump was a chess master there. Play this clip.
Well, first of all, I had the pleasure of getting to be at the meeting today between the President of the United States and the Prime Minister of Canada. What I witnessed was like watching a grandmaster in chess perform.
Okay. Let's look at Prime Minister Carney's face, after you called him a chess master, as Donald Trump says that America does not do that much business with Canada. Canada's America's biggest client. We do the most business with Canada. Here, play this clip.
During the campaign, Prime Minister Carney talked about the American betrayal. How do you react if Canada decided not to shop in the American store as much as before and decided to partner with other countries?
Well, we don't do much business with Canada from our standpoint. They do a lot of business with us. We're at like 4%. And usually those things don't last very long. You know, we have great things, great product. The kind of product we sell, nobody else can sell, including military. Look, we make the best military equipment in the world, and Canada buys our military equipment, which we appreciate. But we make the best military equipment in the world by far. The missiles, the submarines, everything. Everything we have is really top notch. I rebuilt our military during our last term. Stupidly, we gave some away to Afghanistan, which shouldn't have happened.
In 2024, the U.S. did over $600 billion in trade with Canada. Like, what are you talking about? Prime Minister Carney stands up to Donald Trump and says, not now, not ever. Canada will never be the 51st state, Donald. Here, play this clip.
You know, I'm a real estate developer at heart. When you get rid of that artificially drawn line, somebody drew that line many years ago with like a ruler, just a straight line right across the top of the country. When you look at that beautiful formation when it's together, I'm a very artistic person. But when I looked at that beauty, I said, that's the way it was meant to be. But, you know, I do feel it's much better for Canada. But we're not going to be discussing that unless somebody wants to discuss it. I think that there are tremendous benefits to the Canadian citizens, tremendously lower taxes, free military, which honestly we give you essentially anyway, because we're protecting Canada if you ever had a problem. But I think it would really be a wonderful marriage because it's two places that get along very well. They like each other a lot.
Well, if I may, as you know from real estate, there are some places that are never for sale.
That's true.
We're sitting in one right now, you know, Buckingham Palace that you visited as well.
That's true.
And having met with the owners of Canada over the course of the campaign last several months, it's not for sale, won't be for sale ever.
So master chessmanship there by Donald Trump. Have you read The Art of the Deal? You read The Art of the Deal? Okay. Donald Trump has bankrupted most of his businesses. Casino after casino. Bankrupt. Business after business that he lent his name to. Bankrupt. Even if you look at his most recent crypto project, only 57 wallets made money on his crypto, while like 770,000 crypto wallets lost money. When are you all going to realize that he is a fraud, that he is a felon, that he is a sexual abuser? It's so obvious. Fox knows it too. That's why they're panicking. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 5 million subscribers.
Can't get enough Meidas? Check out the Meidas Plus Substack for ad-free articles, reports, podcasts, daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, and more. Sign up for free now at MeidasPlus.com.